What's going on, y'all? It's JD Pickell with On 3 today on the Hard Count. We're going to take a pulse of the South Carolina program. Welcome into the Hard Count, the people show for every single thing that you know and that you love about college football. It happens here on a nearly daily basis. Nick Brake doing the heavy lifting. You can help drive the show by subscribing to the channel. Our Pulse of the Program series rolls on to Columbia, South Carolina, as we're going to take a pulse of the Gamecocks and everything going on down there. So first and foremost, you know how we do this. We go internally, we go fan base, then we kind of give you our diagnosis. But a season ago, nobody was expecting anything out of this program. Like, cool, Shane Beamer's the head coach there, whatever, know about his dad. They're kind of an afterthought. Now, after a 7-win season and blowing expectations out of the water, they're starting to get more and more on people's radar. And the pulse internally at South Carolina is, we're here, we have what we want to get done. There's a lyric from a Drake song. I'm a big Drake guy. And there's a lyric from one of his songs. He says, I still got more to prove since you left me room. That's how they feel in that locker room right now. And that shows itself in how they pitched themselves to Spencer Rattler. Marcus Satterfield, the offensive coordinator there, called him up. He said, listen, people think I stink as an OC. Like, people don't think I'm any good. Quite frankly, Spencer, nobody thinks you're any good either. People don't think you're a good quarterback right now in the national spotlight. Let's put ourselves together on this thing. Let's prove them both wrong. Let's prove both those stereotypes wrong, both of those thoughts wrong. And Spencer Rattler said, okay, I'm in, sign me up. Is now reunited with one of his former coaches in Shane Beamer. And South Carolina is chomping at the bit because Spencer Rattler, if you remember correctly, like we just said a second ago, he was benched at Oklahoma after having all of these expectations for him coming into the 2021 season. Doesn't get to accomplish any of those. And so he's hungry. He wasn't there for what they did at South Carolina a year ago. And they're looking to build on what they did within that program. So internally, they're still hungry. Like they're excited to be back to what feels like square one in terms of jumping off point to get to success. Got the bowl game win a year ago. Coach Beamer takes a Mayo bath a year ago. That's all cool, but they have their sights set on something much bigger than that inside the house. Now, from a fan base perspective, take the pulse there. And the pulse there is cautiously optimistic. Went over to our On 3 site with South Carolina, Gamecocks Central. Go check it out if you haven't. Dropped a question on the board, said, what's the pulse? And we got probably 2 pages worth of folks saying in different ways, cautiously optimistic. The pieces are there. We saw good things a season ago. It was year 1 in the Beamer regime. But what about year 2? I'm excited. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited. But there's some things that give me pause. First and foremost, the schedule's tough. 2 of the first 3 weeks of the season, you get Georgia and Arkansas. Then you have Clemson on the schedule, have A&M on the schedule. It doesn't get easier for South Carolina, so they're going to have to make sure they bring their A game week in and week out to get back to where they were a season ago, and honestly surpass that. It's going to take a little bit more of an effort this coming year. And so when you look at the diagnosis of this team right now, there's a lot on offense to be excited about, right? Spencer Rattler comes with a lot of juice, a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz, which are kind of the buzzwords for this program right now. They feel like he can come in and take this program to new heights. That's where a lot of the excitement lies. Now you look elsewhere on this offense, Dak Joyner is a playmaker, first and foremost, does a lot of things for their football team. He is the leader of that offense. And then you have 5 of your offensive linemen, the whole deal, coming back, which in most programs you'd be really excited about, and they're still excited about it, but they didn't do a ton last year. They didn't necessarily bolster the run game last year, so they have something to prove as well. Went in the portal, get Christian Beal-Smith from Wake Forest. He's a solid back. They're hoping he can add some more to the run game. And then on defense, you bring back 7 starters. Zach Pickens, defensive tackle, a guy they're really excited about. They're going to look to him to do a lot on the interior of that defensive line, obviously be a leader for that defense, all that. What this program comes down to for me is how they handle Spencer Rattler. Because Spencer Rattler, like we've talked about in previous videos, is trying to revamp his own, I was going to say image, we'll say draft stock. Because at at Oklahoma, didn't get done what he wanted to get done, what was expected of him. At South Carolina, he's swinging for the fence. He's trying to get back to being that first round pick kind of quarterback. And I've said before, I think they need to manage him differently, because at Oklahoma, there were times where he would just, quite frankly, try and do too much. Try and throw the ball downfield, double coverage. Get to the slant late. Try and run around instead of just checking it down, instead of throwing it away. Needs to be a better decision maker. And I think some of that was pressure he felt from the outside in. I think some of that also was what was asked of him at Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley's offense puts a lot on the quarterback. Now, in this system, they need to do a good job of making this simple enough for him, making him feel like he doesn't have to do it all. And Shane Beamer came out and said it at SEC Media Day. He said a great thing to me was he doesn't have to be Superman. He doesn't need to be making Marvel kind of plays every other down for us to be successful. And so if they can take enough off of his plate and he can make good decisions, South Carolina is going to be in good shape. I've said it before. My concern with Spencer Rattler is, of those 2 of the first 3 games, having Arkansas and Georgia, if those don't go exactly how you want them to, or if even worse, they go really poorly, I worry about his confidence spiraling. Now, I don't hope that for him. I've made it clear. I hope he does phenomenal at South Carolina, but they need to make sure they manage him well at South Carolina in that offense. They need to make sure they don't ask too much of him. Turn the ball, hand it off to Christian Beal-Smith. Allow him to get going. Check it down to Dak Joyner. Let him get working. Throw him a bubble. Let him get working. Build that confidence within Spencer Rattler and allow that to crescendo as they move on throughout the season. That's how they're going to be successful. So in-house, they're ready to roll. They're ready to get after. They're ready to surpass that 7-win mark. The fan base is saying, no, we're excited too. We're with you. Don't get me wrong. We're excited. But we're just going to protect ourselves a little bit and be a little bit more cautious with that optimism. That's it for us here on The Hard Count. We appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter to stay up with every single thing we're doing here. We don't want you to miss a minute of it. We're going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.